All
right, so you want to go over parallel and perpendicular lines. This one right here, parallel and perpendicular lines. Now, unfortunately, it won't say number 11 because
Okay.
I select random. So every time you go in, it'll be a little different. So what we'll do is
Okay.
we'll preview it and you tell me the problem you're looking for. So I'll go through it.
Okay.
Was it that one?
Nope. Nope. No, not that one either. Next one.
So if you notice, I have some equations both in slope intercept form. Sometimes they're both in standard form. Sometimes I got them different. Um, this is a point and slope, where they give you a point and slope, which is another guaranteed problem in your exam.
Mhm.
Um, this is a point equation and point. You got to find the equation of a line that's parallel. This we have to find another equation of another parallel line.
Mm-hmm. Not that one either. Although that one was tricky.
Oh, that wasn't too bad. If you know how to do them, they all easy to me. But again, so that's why the repetition comes in because you want to do them enough
That's
to
the one right there.
that
I'm
one right
sorry.
there.
Yes.
That's the easiest part of the whole thing.
Because you know what? I ain't gonna lie to you, if I'm being honest. I kind of go, I was like, wait a minute, what?
Just the easiest one. But let's go over. So,
Okay.
what do you know about parallel lines? Tell me what you know about parallel lines.
Parallel, is that straight across?
They
That's
had the
what.
same
So so
slope.
so that's first of all right there. You got to know what a parallel line is. What is a parallel line? What are parallel lines?
They had the same slope.
They do have the same slope, but give me the definition of parallel line. So that's first. So you can't even really get to understand the computation without knowing what parallel lines are. So
Parallel
parallel
lines do not
lines,
intersect.
they do not intersect. So there are two lines that never intersect. They will never cross.
Mhm.
Okay. And the reason why that is because they have the same slope. Who just logged in as admin?
This real?
How you doing, sir?
What up, man?
How you doing? So remember, two L's. So two lines that will never cross are parallel lines. The reason why they won't ever intersect is because their slopes are the same. Okay. So when you look at a question like this, the reason why I put this on, because I wanted you to be able to quickly identify the same slope of any parallel line and the perpendicular line. So if I tell you the slope is 4/7, what's the slope of any parallel line?
4/7.
4/7. That easy. It's nothing that difficult. But what happens is I put it in a different way is because I want to see if you truly understand it. Because if you truly understand it, this is an easy problem. Okay, so now the slope of any perpendicular line, what would it be?
7/4.
Almost. What did I tell you? Easy
It's
way to
negative. Negative seven
negative
over four.
seven
Negative.
over four. Remember, you got
Okay.
to change the sign and flip it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the negative inverse. Change the sign and flip it. So if we now in this one, I give you an equation. So in the first one, I just gave you the slope. In the second one, I gave you an equation. So first of all, what is the slope of this second equation?
5/3.
It's 5/3.
5/3. Because you have to identify this as slope intercept form.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing you got to do. So I gave these types of problems. So you're doing a couple things. The first thing, okay, I just got the slope. I can figure out the parallel. I can figure out the perpendicular. Next thing you know, you got to be able to identify slope intercept form and know y equal mx plus b. where M is your slope and B is your y-intercept. So if the slope is 5/3, what's the slope of any parallel line?
It's the same.
Which is
And
what?
5/3.
5/3. What's the slope of any perpendicular line?
Negative.
You gonna use the same one?
What you
You
mean
gotta flip it. Okay.
gotta flip it.
It's gonna be negative 305.
negative 3/5. So let me give you an example. So now this not, we're doing this one right here.
Okay.
Okay. So slope of any parallel line. So the equation is 5/3 x minus 10. So I'm gonna show you or give you other parallel lines. Y equal 5/3 x. Y equal 5/3 x plus 3. Y equal 5/3 x plus 0.5. What you're looking at is the slopes are the same. So in each of these in slope-intercept form, 5/3 x, the slope is 5/3. 5/3 x plus 3, the slope is 5/3. 5/3 x plus 0.5, the slope is 5/3. So these are all equations that will be parallel to 5/3 x minus 10. Everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm going to erase those because I don't want any confusion. Now, okay, us equation of a line that's perpendicular. Again, the same exact thing. So y equal minus 3/5 x plus 5 is perpendicular to 5/3 x minus 10. That means when you graph those two lines, they will appear like this. Well, not appear like that. They don't have to be vertical and horizontal like that. They could be like this. You know what I mean? But my point is, when they cross each other, they will form that 90-degree angle. Okay. And so this is what the purpose of this exercise is. Now, let me erase it and let's look at the next one. Because now, the first one I just gave you the slope. The second one I gave you the equation in slope-intercept form. The third one I gave you the equation in standard form. Again, I want you to be ready for every type of linear equation they can give you. Without a y-intercept, with no slope, slope is undefined, slope of a parallel line, slope of a perpendicular line. I want you to be ready. So, what is standard form?
AX.
AX plus BY equals C.
Look at that. That means y'all doing some learning. That means I'm getting through. I love it. So minus 3x minus 4y equal minus 8. What's A?
A is negative 3.
B is what?
B is negative 4.
And C is what?
And C is 8.
8.
C is what?
8.
C
Negative
is
8.
8.
Now,
Oh,
when you're given
it's
this
negative.
with negative 8, so when you're given,
Yeah.
how do you find a slope from standard form? What fast way did I show you how to find a slope if you're given a linear equation in standard form?
You do AX over B and C over B.
No, hold on. Rewind.
Okay.
I'm only asking one
Okay.
question. How do I
Okay.
find the slope
Oh,
of a linear equation in standard form? What quick way did I give you? How do you
okay.
find the slope?
Okay. The slope is, well, since it's negative 3, you would change that to a positive 3 over 4.
Okay. Well, what's the fast way I
Wait a
showed
minute.
you? Before we actually put the numbers in,
Oh,
how would I do it then? What did I tell you?
Is that negative A over B?
Negative A
yeah,
over
negative
B.
A. Yeah, yeah.
So each step
Negative
of the
A
way,
over
I want
B.
you to say it out loud until you got it. So negative A over B. So if A is negative 3, what's negative A?
Positive.
Positive 3. And what's B?
B is negative 4.
So 3 over negative 4. What's the slope of this equation?
Is 3 over negative 4.
So, but do you usually say the slope of 3 is negative 4? You either say
No,
positive or
just
negative,
3.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So what
yeah.
is it?
Negative 3 over 4.
Negative 3 over 4. So the slope of this line is negative 3 over 4. Okay, so what's the slope of any line that's perpendicular? Remember I said any line that's perpendicular. That means you can have an infinite amount of lines that are parallel to it. You can have an infinite amount of lines that's perpendicular to it. But what would be the slope of any line that's perpendicular to this line?
Will it be 4/3?
4/3. Why? Because the negative turns to positive and you flip it. That's the whole purpose of this exercise. Now I didn't give you, I only gave you 5 because they're not going. The GED is probably not going to ask you in this manner. But I put this on here because I wanted you to be able to look at it. So ultimately, this is what I want you to be able to do. Okay, slope 4/7. Oh, parallel 4/7. -7 over 4. 5/3. Any slope parallel 5/3. -3/5. You should be able to say, okay, positive. The slope is +3 over -4, so -3/4. 4/3. That's how fast you should be able to do it. Slope -5. Now, this one gives a lot of people issues because when they see that whole number, they don't know what to do. But you have to understand -5 is the same as -5/1. So when I flip that, change the sign, which is positive. So positive
It'll be
1/5. But you should be able to do this exercise literally in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes.
Yeah, this
When
one
you
caught me
do
off
that,
guard.
that means you know how to find the slope of parallel and perpendicular lines. So then when you get to a problem like this, let me go backwards. I probably should have made that question the first question, but they randomly pick them. Let me go to the previous. Ooh, what just happened? Like something like this. Okay. So this is the type of problem that's indicative that you might see on the GED, where they ask you the equation of the parallel line, equation of a perpendicular line. The first thing you should be looking at, and you should hear my voice in your ears when you're going to take your exam. What is given and what do I know? So first of all, what do I know? Well, I know the point. They gave me a point. I know each point gives me an X and a Y. They gave me an equation. This is slope-intercept form. My slope of this equation is what?
-5
-5. My y-intercept is what?
is 8.
Okay. Now, what do they want? So this is what's given. This is what I know. Second thing I want to know, what do they want? They want to find an equation of line passing through the given point and perpendicular. So what you should say right away, this is what makes this question easy. Because if I know the slope is -5, which is -5/1, what's the slope of a line that's perpendicular?
Is 1/5.
So I know the slope of my perpendicular line must be 1/5. So guess what? I can get rid of D, I can get rid of C, I can get rid of B. I don't even have to do the rest of this problem because once I know the slope that I'm looking for is 1/5, there's only one in this multiple choice options that's 1/5. So I don't even have to do the other step to find the whole equation of the line. A lot of times this is what they give you. This is what they want you to be capable of, just to be able to identify and get rid of the multiple choice answer. Now, of course, I have to show you how to do it all the way up. Okay. But again, you should be able to identify. Hold on, they gave me a point. That's my X and Y. They gave me an equation of line. You should be able to identify that slope intercept form. Because it's slope intercept form, you should be able to identify your slope is -5. You should be able to identify your y-intercept is +8. You should be able to say, okay, if my slope is -5, that's the same as -5/1. So in order to find the slope of the perpendicular, I need to change the sign and flip it. So negative becomes positive, 5/1 becomes 1/5. So now you have the slope of the perpendicular. Equipped with that information, you then look at the multiple choice. The slope of the last one is -5. It can't be that one. The slope of this third one, or C, is -1/5. It can't be that one. The slope of B is 5. It can't be that one. So by process of elimination, we got answer A with the first answer. But okay, Mr. Tenzi, well, what if it wasn't that easy? What if those multiple choice didn't have that? What would we do? Okay, I'm going to show you. So we know that the slope of the perpendicular is 1/5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to move all this out the way, and I'm going to bring this up so we can see. Again, this is why it's important for you to practice these and then do them again. And then correct your answers and do them again. And correct your answers and do them again. Until you see a problem, you know what to do right away. So right away, when they give you a point and a slope, you should be like, okay, I know how to do that problem. They want to find the slope of the perpendicular. I have the slope of my perpendicular. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, okay, let me change my color. I'm going to change it to blue. And I'm going to say y equal mx plus b. Okay. I know what my y is. What is my y? What is my y?
8. No, 4.
8.
Why you so
It's
again,
8.
okay, no, it is not 8.
Oh,
So
well, where we at?
understand
Okay.
y and y-intercept are not the same thing.
Oh, you talking about X and Y, the points. Okay.
Are not the same. So that's
Nope.
important for you to know because a lot of people make that mistake.
Not
What I'm asking for is what y is.
Is it
What is
4?
y? It
Y
is
is 4
y is 4. Where did you get y is 4 from?
from
From
the
the
2
2
points.
points.
From it's not, you don't have 2 points, you only got 1 point.
1
1,
point.
1 point, which is
So
y.
4 equal, what's my slope?
-5.
-5.
No, what's
No,
my slope?
-1/5 because it's
Oh, 1 over
perpendicular.
5.
What is my slope?
We changed it. 1 over 1.
1 over 5.
1.
1 over 5.
Okay, again, that's the mistake that people make. We don't
Okay.
need to find the equation of the original line. We already know the slope of that, -5. That's not
Right.
what we're trying to do. We had that equation of line. We're trying to find the equation of a line that is perpendicular to that line.
Got you.
So that's why we need the slope of the perpendicular line. And that's what we figured out. It is 1/5, not -1/5. It
It's
is
1.
1/5. So this is why walk through this problem. You go step by step by step, and then you do it again. And you take the whole test and you see what you got wrong and you do it again. And you see what you got wrong and you do it again. Why? Because I'm telling you, you're going to see 2 or 3 of these. If you don't get ready for the questions that I'm telling you I know to be or not know that's gonna be on the test, but more than likely will be on the test. If you're not ready for those, I don't know what to tell you. So 1/5, what's x?
It's 5.
5 plus b.
Mm-hmm.
So all we did was substitute what we know.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we did. And again, that's why it's so important. Identify what's given, identify what you know, identify what they want to know. And most of the time, all we're doing is plugging in. Okay, what's 1/5 times 5?
It's 1.
Is 1 plus b. How do we get b by itself? What do we need to get rid of?
You got minus the 1 on both
We got to
sides.
get rid of the 1, so we got -1 on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
4 minus 1 is what?
3.
3. Bring down the equal, the ones cancel, bring down the b. So my y-intercept is 3. The slope of the perpendicular is 1/5.
Mm-hmm.
So what
X.
equation should I select?
Okay. 1.
Yep, first one, or A. Okay, remember, the slope is 1/5, y-intercept is 3. So this is how you would do it if these multiple choice all had the same slope. If they don't have the same slope, like this problem, we already showed you how to do that quickly and accurately. Quickly and accurately. Let me close this out because it's going to end.
I have a question, Professor Tinsley, if I could.
Yes.
The one that's right before that, number 9. Now, if I may ask, okay, see this problem
You might
has,
not be able to see number 9 just because it might not be the same thing. Tell me if the
okay,
number 9 that you have is the same one.
okay, yes, that's it right there.
Okay.
It's the same. Now I see where it has the -8 x, are we to consider that a -1? That's where I get confused at.
You tell me.
Mm, Well, it couldn't be a -1 because it's a variable.
It is 1.
Okay, watch this. This is just real common sense, and sometimes people miss that. Is it a 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 6? Is it 7? It ain't none of those numbers, right? Because you don't see the number, right?
Right.
So then you ask yourself, what's the only answer could it be? 1. Why? This is why. Watch this. 1x is the same as 1 times x, correct?
Right.
1 times 8 is 8. 9 times 1 is 9, right? 1
Right.
times x is x. So when you don't see a number in front of a variable, it is a 1. So if I put a 1 there, now you see it is -1. If you don't see a number in front of a variable, the coefficient is 1. Now, negative or positive doesn't matter. Just look at the sign before, in front of the x. So in this case, my A is -1. My B is 2. My C is -20. But this comes from knowing this. You shouldn't have to question that. You should know by now. If it's nothing else, it could be. If it's a 0, it wouldn't be there. Because what's anything times 0?
0.
So it wouldn't be there if it was a 0, right? It can't be a 2, can't be a 3, can't be a 4. Why? Because you would see those numbers. So the only number it can be, if you don't see a coefficient in front of the variable, then the coefficient is 1. Understand?
Got it.
All right, so let's start this problem here. Boom. First of all,
Oh,
find the equation of the line passing through the given point and perpendicular to the given equation. Now, what do we know? What do we know?
Or 2 points.
I don't see 2 points. We do not have
we
2
see our points.
1.
We have 1 point.
1 point.
Not
X
have
and
2
Y.
points, but we have an x and a y of that point. So again, that's the vocabulary. That we do not have 2 points. We have 1 point. That point is an ordered pair. What does ordered mean? X before Y. Pair means 2.
Mhm,
X, Y.
mhm.
What else do we know? So we know we're given a point, and from that point, we can ascertain what X is and Y is.
Mhm.
Okay, what else do we know?
We know this is in standard form.
We know this is in standard form. What is standard form?
AX plus BY equals C.
What is A?
A is -1.
B is what?
B is 2.
C is what?
C is -20.
Okay. What's the easy way I told you to find the slope if you're given a linear equation in standard form?
Okay, you gotta do the opposite of what
Tell
A
me,
is.
tell me the shortcut
Okay,
first. What is it?
okay. The shortcut is as A over B,
It is not
which
A
is,
over B. It is not
I
A
mean,
over B.
AX
It is not A over
negative
B.
A. Okay.
Negative A, what? Negative A, what?
Oh, he turned my. Okay.
Negative A over B. This is,
Yeah,
see, and this is the
that's the
process.
slope.
Listen, this cannot take this for granted. This is why you have to walk yourself through each problem. Each time you see a word problem, you need to identify the givens. Each time you see a word problem, you got to identify what they want to know. Each word problem, you got to identify what you know. For example, in this case, I know I have a point. So the givens are I have a point and I have an equation of the line. What do I know? I know each point gives me an x and a y. What do I know? I know this equation is in standard form. Because it is in standard form, I can identify my A, B, and C. Because I can identify my A, B, and C, I know the slope is the opposite of A over B. So if you want to think of it that way, instead of negative A over B, think the opposite of A over B. So whatever A is, if it's negative, it's going to be positive. If it's positive, it's going to be negative. So the opposite of A over B. So the -1 becomes +1 over B, which is 2. So my slope of the perpendicular line, not this line. Am I right? No. See, I always wanted to catch you. Is this the perpendicular line or the line I'm talking about? What am I trying to? Which one am I
The
talking
line
about?
you talking about?
This is the no, this not.
So it's not the perpendicular line. So my
No,
slope
because
of this line is 1/2. So what is my
right.
slope of the perpendicular?
Oh God, who the heck? Let me fix this. 2/1.
2 over. You sure about that? So you
Negative 2/1.
-2 over 1.
Yeah.
Why? Change the sign and flip.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
So again, you got to understand that we're first figuring out the slope of the equation that they give us.
Right, and then do the.
Then you're finding the slope of either parallel or perpendicular line. Sharon, you got a lot of noise in your background. I got to mute you. So now the slope of the perpendicular is -2. Which ones can I get rid of?
You can
All
get
this
rid
A,
of
B, C, D. What ones can I get rid of?
D,
D, because that the slope of D is what?
2,
2. So it can't be D. What's the slope of B?
-2,
What's the slope of C?
-1/2.
Can we get rid of C?
Yes,
Yes. What's the slope of A?
-1. I'm sorry, 1/2.
1/2. Can we get rid of A?
Nope. Well, no. Yes, you can.
So the answer
Yes, B.
is B. So look at what I did. Understand what I did. I gave you a problem in standard form. I gave the linear equation in standard form. All the answers are in slope-intercept form. So this is why I have a quiz on the exam so you to identify the slope and y-intercept if you're given slope-intercept form. What's the slope and y-intercept if you're given standard form? You got to be able to interchange back and forth. Now, the most prevalent one you're going to see is slope-intercept, more than likely. But recently, they've been having a lot of standard form, so you got to be ready. Okay, so this is what you have to be ready for. This is what you have to practice. Like all this, I'm going to touch this, I'm going to touch this. What I would suggest you do, when you take a test, if you don't score a 70 or above, find the problems you got wrong and figure them out. Or if you can't figure them out, you're wasting too much time, hours on the problem, then text me, send me a picture, email me, whatever you got to do. But that's what you should be doing. You should be saying, okay, I'm on this concept. Let me understand this concept before I move. So this is why I put everything in that sequential order on the website. Now, if you got a 141, 142, 143, 144 in your exam, I would say I wouldn't go sequential. I would say, okay, what concepts is the GED telling me I need to work on? And I would go to those individual concepts first, make sure I am competent and master those concepts, then I would take another practice test. Okay, that's what I would do. And that's what I would practice. And I would, and again, you have, once you have my assessments that you can take, but you also got the Khan Academy and CK12. So what do I have? There's a Tenzi, but Khan Academy they go hard. You're right. It does change the difficulty. But that also tests, do you know it or not? Do I know this well enough? Because what's going to happen with your exam? When you read that exam, the first thing you're going to think, so if you took the math exam, you're going to open it up or you're going to start that exam and you're going to say, I never seen this stuff a day in my life. Oh my God, what are they talking about? Again, take a deep breath. Everything in this ebook, everything that I'm going to see in your exam. Don't get flustered. Take a deep breath. Okay, they might have all this extraneous information in paragraphs for you to read. They may give you all this information. Again, what is the question? What are they asking? What's given to me? What do I know? Okay, then go from there. Do not get flustered because they give you all this extraneous information. Like I saw this problem the other day. A young lady sent me, and it had like 2 big paragraphs of information. It had a table, had all this information in there. And she said, I read the whole problem, Mr. Jeremy. Then I read the question. Then I went back to the reading through the paragraph. I didn't understand what they wanted. Okay. So sent back. I said, what is the question? She said, I need to find a median. Okay. So all that information, think about when you had to find a median. You had a set of numbers. So all that information in the first 3 paragraphs had to do with rent and all this other stuff. That is not a set of numbers. Then when she got to the table, then they give you a set of numbers. So you should be looking at the table. You wasted your time reading all that paragraph. When if you know what the median is, look for a set of numbers. She said, Mr. Tins, now this problem so easy, I got it. It's because when you take this GED exam, you're going to get flustered. You're going to be anxious. You're going to feel a certain amount of anxiety. You're going, listen, part of this is the reason why I made this course. You take these tests, you take these assessments over and over and over and over till you remove that question, till you remove that fear. So when you do take your exam, there's no question that should knock you over. And then what you should do is, if the question does knock you over and you have no idea how to do it, what you should be hearing in your voice, hearing in your ear, hearing in your mind, flag it for review, pick pick an answer and skip it or skip it. I'm gonna come back to it when I finish the exam. Because I want to get to the questions I'm familiar with. If you understand that strategy, you could probably go take the exam now and pass. What happens is that everybody thinks, all the students think that they have to understand every concept all the way through. No, you don't. You need a 55 to a 58 on this exam. So if there's 45 questions, you need about what I say 40. If there's 45 questions, half of 45 is about 23. That's 46, right? So you need 23 is half. So if I need 55 to 58%, I need add 3 to that. So to be comfortable, if you get 45 questions, you're looking to get 26 right. That means you can get 19 questions wrong. That means those difficult problems, 10, 12, 13 problems that's on the exam, you can flag for review. You don't have to worry about until you finish the exam, then come back to those questions. If you understand that strategy, you can pass the exam. Understand the concepts. Take the assessments that I have on this free course until you get them right, until you know it, until you can do every problem. Then move on to the next one. Mr. Tensley, they gave me area. I know how to do the area. Mr. Tensley, I know how to do the perimeter. But this time they gave me the area and they're trying to ask for the length. Okay, work backwards. That's called critical thinking. They give you a formula. Area equal length times width. They gave me the area. That means I need to solve for L or W. Algebra tells you I know how to solve a formula for L. I know how to solve a formula for W. But what happens is people get so anxious and so flustered because this type of question they didn't see. What I tried to do is give you a question in every way you can see it. So if you take an area perimeter, you're going to see it solve for area. You're going to see it solve for length. You're going to see it solve for length. If they give you the circumference or the area of a circle, solve for R, solve for D. In the ebook, so every way that you could possibly see a question, I prepare you for. What you have to do is you got to say, I'm going to sit down here and make sure I get this section down at least 70% or better before I move on. I think I made it 75, but I forget what I did now. But that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. So if you took the test already, you took a GED ready test already, and whatever section they tell you to work on, you work on them until you got it. Then move on to the next section. Then you work on that until you got it. Then you move into the next section. And then if that's all linear equations, then you know what? You go back over it again after you've done it again. Why? Because what happens is this is how our mind works in mathematics. We're going to learn it for right now. But then when I move to the next subject, I don't have to worry about that. Math is not like that. Whatever you learned in the previous year, the previous section, the previous concept, you're going to have to use it again. So make sure you know how to do it. If you do that, you will pass this exam without worry.
So Mr. Tinsley, like, so the main parts is the algebra and the linear equations and stuff like that, and you're saying like just lock in on that first, and then don't leave that section until I get it and I comprehend it, right?
Yeah. Based on either your practice test or what you did. So, for example, if you take the algebra pretest and you got a 30, that means you shouldn't go to linear equations because you don't understand algebra. Linear equations is algebra. Area and volume is algebra. If you have a variable instead of a number, that's algebra. If you have an unknown, that's algebra. So 55% of this exam is algebra. So that means exponent must know. But if you don't know multiplication tables, how you gonna know your square roots, cube, and cube roots?
Right.
If you don't know your multiplication tables, how you gonna do distributive property? If you don't know multiplication, how you gonna? If you don't know your addition, subtraction, and your sign numbers, how you gonna combine like terms? So this is why first I have whole numbers, fractions, decimals, percents, ratio, and proportions first. Those, if you can't score 75 of those, then you should need move to algebra. But once you have that down, that's why I have a pretest. If you score 70 or 75 above, you passed it. That tells you I know this section well enough to pass the GED. Let me move into the next thing. What happens is we flying all over the place. A young lady called me yesterday. She was like, Mr. Tinsley, I'm working on distributed property, linear equations, and system of equations. Hold on. You can't do algebra if you don't know distributed property. If you don't know algebra, you can't do linear equations. If you don't know linear equations, you can't do system of equations. So you just wasted hours and hours and hours. Hours and hours and hours. Well, this is what I need to work on. But you didn't get the concepts of algebra down first. Once you got the concepts of algebra, then move to linear equations. Because, again, linear equations could be one variable. Linear equations could be two variables, x and y. Your system of equations is two linear equations. So how are you going to do system of equations if you don't understand linear equations? So once she went through the algebra, she said, Mrs. Tinsley, oh my goodness. I was like, I said, you telling me you went through linear equations and system of equations, and all you had to do was understand distributive property and combining like terms. She said, yes. I said, told you. She said, now it all makes sense. She said, one little mistake. My sign numbers and my distributive property was off. So when I went to combine like terms, I was always incorrect in combining like terms. But once I fixed and understood distributive property, once I understood my sign numbers, my combining like terms, I'm good. Now I'm ready. So what happened was she gave me this problem where it was like find the missing step or something like that. I forget what it was. It basically had a algebraic equation and it had the steps listed. And she had to find a mistake. And she couldn't do it. She kept getting. But after she understood distributive property combined like terms, she was able to do it. So then when she got to linear equations, she's like, oh, now I'm out. Now I understand. But then when she got the system of equations, she was like, Mr. Tinsley, is a system of equations two linear equations? Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's how do you solve what is the unknown value that will satisfy both of these equations? That's what a system of equation is. So once she understood linear equation, she did system of equation. And she's taking an exam, I think, tomorrow or Wednesday. She said, Miss Tensley, I went from a 135 on my practice test to a 151. Just on linear, just understanding linear equations, I went from a 135 to a 151. I said, wow. I said, she said, I spent all this money on tutors. He said, I took the exam like 9 times. He's like, this is the first time I feel comfortable going into the exam. It's the first time I feel like I know what I'm doing. I just didn't, just guessing everything. Because it takes work and it takes a direction, what you're trying to do. So the first thing I would say for anybody, if is understand the basics. Numbers, fractions, decimals, percents, and ratio and proportions. Then move to your algebra. Then everything else should be good. Everything else. And I'm not saying I don't want you to learn it. But everything else, if you know how to do those, the calculator do the rest for you. Like literally, watch this.
So that algebra is the main. It's the main. It's just like if I lock in on that, then everything else will just follow suit.
Algebra. See, algebra. Even though I have algebra and then I have linear equations, then I have quadratic equations, and I have system of equations. That's all part of algebra. They're just advanced concepts of algebra. But linear equation, quadratic equations, and system of equations is all algebra. So on the exam, the GED tells you that 55% of your exam is algebra. Well, what do you need to pass? 55 to 58%. So you tell me algebra is 55%, and I only need 55 to 58. Oh.
True.
Right?
Okay. So algebra, then move on to linear equations, system of equations, everything else, etc., etc.
In that order on the course, yep. Like plus you also have to realize what they're giving you. Like they're going to give you an area problem. They're going to give you a volume problem. They're going to give you what's the slope of the line from 2 points. What's the equation line from 2 points. They're going to give you equation of a line of a parallel or perpendicular. They're going to give you 2 to 3 ratio and proportions. They're going to give you a percent problem. So again, that's why in the ebook I say this is how many questions they're probably going to grab. So if you notice, linear equations between 7 and 10. I think between 5 and 10. So if you get 10 questions as linear equations and it's 40 questions on your exam, that's a quarter of your exam. So if you don't understand linear equations, I can almost grab everybody's score report. And this is the areas they need. The first 5 functions in linear equations and evaluating algebraic expressions and quadratic equations. If people focused on those areas, almost everybody that failed the GED could pass the exam. But the problem is, it seems such like a daunting task that it's like, oh my God, I don't know this. Well, that's why I made the course for you to see what you know. Take a pretest first, 10 to 15 questions, see what you know. 20 questions, see what you know. If you score under 70, now remember, 55 to 58 is passing though. So remember, 70, when I say 70, 75, that's giving you leeway. So if you go through the pretests, because really you should be able to pretest whole numbers, fractions, decimals, percents, ratio, proportions in a day. Do I know these sections first? Do I understand these concepts first? Okay, I do. Let's move on to algebra. Sine numbers and exponent. Most people, again, that's part of the first 5. Those are all basic concepts that you should know. Even the question earlier, well, it said minus x. Well, is that a -1? So again, that's where the critical thinking comes from. What other number could it be? It can't be 2 through infinity because you would have saw that number. And it can't be 0 because anything times 0 is 0. So the only option that it can be, that coefficient is 1. So if it's a negative x, it's a -1 is the coefficient. If it's just plus x, then it's +1. But what happens is people say, oh, I don't know. Sometimes, hold on, let me figure this out. What could it be? Could it be 0? If I put a 0 there, that number wouldn't, that term wouldn't be there. Like, for example, if I had 5 plus x, right, equal y, and x is 0, right? If I plug that 0 in, it's like saying 5 plus 0 equal y. 5 equal y. It's like that 0 is not even there. I don't need it. If I had 5 times x and x equals 0, right? If I plug that in, I'm going to get 0. Doesn't matter what this is. This coefficient could be anything. It could be 1.2, it could be a half, it could be 5x squared or 5 squared, 9, it doesn't matter. Anything times 0 is 0. That means it's not there. There's no value to it. It's not there. If something equates to 0, it is not there. You need it in your equation. This is why when we have something like this, x plus 5 equals 9. Why do we do the opposites? Because we want to cancel them out. We want that to cancel out. 5 minus 5 is 0. When I'm going over the problem, I say they cancel each other out. They're really equal to 0, and I don't need to write 0. So I just bring down my x equal 4. But the reason why we're doing it, because we're doing an inverse operation. 5x equal 25. I'm dividing by 5, right? Well, 5 divided by 5 is 1. I don't never say 5 divided by 5 is 1. I say 5 divided by 5, they cancel each other out. But 5 divided by 5 is 1. So let me erase that 5 real quick. 5 divided by 5 is really 1. X equal 5. Do I need that 1 when I'm multiplying by 1? No. X equal 5. Because 1 times anything is itself. So 1 times x is equal to x. 1 times 8 is equal to 8. We don't write the 1 anymore. So this is why 1x is the same as x equal 5 in this example. So those are the things you got to know, because, again, everything in math builds upon something else. Everything in math builds on something else. There's no math term, and there's nothing. Ground zero of math will be the basic operations, right? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. But guess what? Everything is built on that, right? Your exponents, right? Square, your cubes is multiplication, right? When you find multiples of a number, that's adding the same number multiple times. That's multiplication, right? When you're multiplying binomials for quadratic equations, that's multiplication, right? So everything is built on a previous concept. So that's why it's so important in that course, especially those beginning concepts, you need to know. So when you get to that algebra, it's I know this. Okay, yeah, I remember this. And I think that's the difficulty of a lot of people. Like when I get to this problem here, right? The first thing I'm doing is I'm saying, oh, my slope is -5. The slope of the perpendicular would be +5. Bang, bang, bang. I'm done. 15 seconds, I'm done. I'm feeling good about myself. But most people are going to do the computation and say, oh, 5 is x, 4 is y, m is -5, b is +8. Mr. Tinsey, but you just did that. Why? Because I wanted you to understand the steps that need to be taken. But once you understand this type of problem, you should be able to look at the problem and go right away. Like, it doesn't matter what problem I select. I could go to the next one. Doesn't matter which one. Watch. Even though it's probably going. Is it going to work? No, I didn't go with this one. Because we did this already. But again, you'll know when you know a concept. Like right here. Determine whether the following equations are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, slope is -2/5. Slope is 5/2. Okay, the slope of a perpendicular this line will be +5 over 2. Okay, perpendicular. 5 over 2. 5 over 2 is 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 5 over 2. Bam. That's how fast you should be doing these problems. None of these problems should take more than 30 seconds. And if they do, and I'm not saying you may not take more than 30 seconds, but if they do, you keep working on it. Again, select all equations that are parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope. So my slope is 2. The slope here is negative 1/2. The slope here is 2. The slope here is 2. The slope here is minus a over b because I got standard. So minus 4 over minus 2 is a positive 2. So check, 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 30 seconds. Now, if this problem takes you 3 or 4 minutes, that means you have to rewind and say, hold on, let me get the conceptual understanding of what's going on here. So when you see a problem like this, what you should first identify, what do I know? Slope-intercept form. If I get slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, I know my slope is 2. Second thing, what do I know? Parallel lines have the same slope. So I'm going to look at this list of equations, and I need to find all the equations with the same slope, and slope is 2. So, boom. This is slope-intercept form. Easy. Slope negative 1/2. Slope-intercept form. Easy. Slope is 2. Slope-intercept form. Slope is easy. Slope is 2. Because why? Y equals mx plus b. Whatever's in front of that x is my slope. So most people say, oh, is the slope 4 here? No. This last equation is not in slope-intercept form. So slope is not 4. So the identification of the form is important. This is standard form. AX plus BY equals C. So I need to take the opposite of A, which is negative 4, over B, which is negative 2. 2 negatives make a positive. 4 over 2 is 2. Check, check, check. All these have a slope of 2. That should be a 30 to 45 second problem. And if it's not, over it again and again till you know it. Don't remember the answers. Walk through the steps like I just did. Most people, what they do is when they go over a quiz or assessment or test over again, they remember, oh, that was B. B. No, work through the problem. Like if you didn't know it. Because that's where build your confidence. Like this problem here, again, selected equations that are perpendicular. That's slope-intercept form. My slope is 5, which is the same as 5 over 1. The slope of any line that's perpendicular is the negative inverse. So this is positive. That means it needs to be negative. I need to flip 1 over 5. So I'm looking for any of these equations that have a slope of negative 1/5. So when I look here, slope is negative 5. It's not A. Here, the slope is negative 1/5. Ding, 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 ding. That's a check. Here, this is standard form. So this is A, so 1 there. So the opposite of A, which is negative 1, over B, which is plus 5, negative 1/5. Check. Slope here is 5. So the 2 that are perpendicular, right there. 30 to 45 seconds. Again, this is what you should be doing on every single section. If you are sitting there and you're taking 5 to 10 minutes on a problem, I don't care what section it is, you need to stop. That means you don't fully understand that question. Don't waste 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes trying to figure out a problem. You stop and say, you know what? Out of these 10 questions, I understand these 7. These 3 questions, I don't know. So when I get to class on Monday, or if it's late in the week, in class on Monday, if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, let me email Mr. Tinsley. Let me text him this graphic. Let me take a picture so you won't waste that time. Because I could probably show you in 5 minutes or explain it to you over phone or whatever in 5 minutes. And then you say, okay, now I understand it. Let me go take that same quiz tonight. Oh, got it. Boom, I got 100. Let me move on to the next thing now. That should be your modus operandi. That should be your mode of attack when you're doing this. All these problems are not going to be the same. All of them are going to look different. All of them are going to be more different. Some will be more difficult than the others. But that's where you have to involve your critical thinking and say, take a deep breath. 5 of them. What's given? What do I know? What do they want to know? That's first. That's where you got to start at any. I don't care what it is. And that way, get to the test. You will have no fear of their problems at all. You will know what problems to skip right away. Because if you've been practicing on my site and you say, you know what, damn, these system of equations, man, it take me 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. So when you get to the test, you already know. I'm flagging this for review and skipping it. Once I finish my exam, come back to that problem. But that's preparation. That's knowing the problems that give you difficulty. So when you get to your test, you'll know the problems that give you difficulty. Oh, I'm flagging that for review and I'm skipping it. Or I don't know how to do this problem. I'm picking a letter and I'm moving on, flagging for review. Pick a letter, flagging for review, come back to it once I finish. Because guess what happens? Let me just tell you this. I know we should be doing problems. I actually had to get to a session right at 7 o'clock, but let me explain this to you. I had a young lady, she skipped 14 problems. 14 problems. But what happens when she skipped those difficult problems, she got the problems that she could do. And what happened was she started building her confidence, started building her self-esteem. So once she finished the exam and she came back to those 14, her mind recalled how to do some of them. She said, Miss Tins, I got about 10 of them. And she scored 161. And she had failed, I think she failed like 5-6 times before she passed. And she skipped 14 problems. But what happened was, as she was doing those easy and medium problems, her confidence started to grow. So once she finished it, she felt like, oh, I think I got this exam, even without these problems. Let me go back here. And she did those problems and wound up knocking the test out the box. But listen, I hate to cut you short because I got a session right at 7 o'clock right after this tonight. I have a young lady who had to smooth her, she has a midterm tomorrow. So I had to help her for a midterm. So
Thank you, Professor Tinsley.
So listen, take my advice. I'm telling you, we'll pass. Probably closer to passing. You're probably closer to passing than you think you are. Because remember, passing is like 55 to 58%. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Everybody have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Tinsley.
Have a good night.